All right, so this is part two, basically just a bunch of nighttime footage for you guys of the Mars MT1000LRF. So previously posted a full overview and review, including sight-in and, going over the features and all of that, and just a brief display in that of some nighttime footage, but we got way more for you here today, so that's pretty much what this video is here. So if you want an overview or review and you want to know all the ins and outs of this thing, go check out the original review video. I'll put a link to that in the description, and I'll also link this thing in the description if you're interested and you want to check it out. So as far as the nighttime footage is concerned, this is where we left off in the previous video. So it was slightly out of focus here, but not too bad. And as you can see, they're pretty shaky. So all the clips we have coming up after this, they're 100% in focus, as good as I could get them, and a lot more steady as well, because I found a way to mount this up on my tripod. But here's where we left off, and I just wanted to recap on this because this is pretty good footage here. Way across the lake there is over 1,000 yards, but down here where all these cars and people are, it was like 400, 450 yards, and you can see them, other than my shaky hands there, plain as day. And again, it wasn't quite fully in focus there, but that's where we left off on the previous video, so I just wanted to throw that in because I thought it was actually pretty good footage. Now, in case you're not going to go check out that original review video, you can change the reticle here, including the collar, so you can change it to whatever collar works best for you. Now, here's my dog at about 35 to 40 yards, and this is with all this footage, all of it, through the entire video, is with the 50mm lens, and this is all the way zoomed out here, 35 to 40 yards. So you can see that's really where that 35, the smaller 35mm lens, is going to come into play. It only gives you a 2 to 16x magnification, whereas the 50mm lens is giving you 2.8 to 22.4x. So all the way zoomed out here, we are at 2.8x, basically 3x magnification. The smaller 35mm lens is going to give you 2x magnification. So if you do, all of your shooting within 200 yards, you're basically only going to need the 35mm lens. I mean, you might want the 50 to zoom in more for shots between 100 and 200 yards. You might prefer that. It's kind of personal preference. But if you're doing a lot of your shooting, or most of your shooting, like people that hunt rats or whatever at night, inside of 100 yards, or God forbid even inside of 50, you're definitely going to want that smaller lens for that. That way you can be zoomed out a little bit. That said, I'm confident in saying that, say you are shooting rats, you're going to be able to take 5-10 yard shots, as close as 5 or 10 yards, with that 35mm lens. No issue whatsoever. They're also smaller targets, so they're not going to fill up the whole screen like a dog would at 5 or 10 yards. And I mean, honestly, probably 10, 15, 20 yards, you'd be just fine with that 50mm lens. But if you're going to do a lot of close range shots like that, I would definitely go with the 35mm. But you can get it with both, like how I received it. Again, check out the review video. So that is an option. You can get both lenses. So if you're going to do some close range as well as some long range stuff, several 100 yards, you do have the option there to have both lenses, so you can swap them out as needed. Well, but here's a drainage pipe out in the field about 50 yards out, and I was just messing with the focus here. It just has a focus on the end of the scope tube there, so I went past it there, and now I'm bringing it back. So that's about in focus there, just to kind of show you messing around with that. But this is currently set on white hot, and I believe there's water running out of that, or kind of puddling up in front of it there. So that's what the white is there. I believe it was a 40 degree night Fahrenheit this night. It was previously warmer out, so I believe the water's just warmer than everything else because of the chill in the air. Some out back there, you can see to that closest tree. That thing's out there 500 or 600 yards. And I mean, you can see out in the field well, way beyond that. I did not find much in the way of animals out in this field. I did find one small something. I don't know if it was like a rat out in the middle of the field or what. But you'll see a bunch of stuff in the woods here. The trees are glowing a little bit because the bark on the trees from the sun earlier in the day, it's still kind of warm to the touch compared to the, the cold mud. It's been raining like crazy. It was 40 degrees, like I said. So, the trees are glowing a little because they're a little bit warmer than the cold, wet, muddy ground. And there's some stuff in the woods that I thought maybe was animals, but they weren't moving. You can see them glowing. I'm assuming it's like, rocks and stumps and stuff like that. But if there's an animal that walks into the frame, as you'll see here very shortly, it just immediately lights up. The thermal on this, the way that it works, it picks up and makes bright, or however you have it set, whatever is the hottest thing out there. So right now, with no animals out there, it's just whatever's out in the woods there, that's the warmest. That's what it's going to make glow. So if there's no animals, you're still going to get some heat signatures from the warmer materials you're looking at. But as soon as an animal does walk in the frame, it'll immediately take priority in the imaging, and it'll glow extremely obviously. Which, as I said, I got plenty of that coming up here in just a second. But yeah, I was just scanning the woods here. I was trying to show you guys clear up on this hill. This is confirmed 600 some odd yards, 700, and clear to the very edge, I believe. And you can see up there, no problem whatsoever, even though there's, nothing hot heating it up. That's one thing I noticed, the difference between this thermal scope and their night vision scopes that I had previously tested. The night vision only lets you see as far, basically, as your infrared torch will reach out. The thermal, however, it just lets you see freaking everything, even if it's not hot. There's some footage on here where I was looking at houses like well over a half mile away, probably some of them even a mile away, and you can still see them. It's just absolutely insane. And then with the detection range for that thermal imager being like 2,000 some yards, I think it is, that's over a mile, I believe. So even if somebody was walking around in a field or whatever a mile away, you're still going to get a heat signature from them. So that's insane. But yeah, here's this little guy out in the field. I was trying to see if I could see what it was, and I got a lot of footage, which I'll just kind of go through it real quick. I got better footage coming up shortly of different animals and me and all kinds of stuff, and even some cars driving by. But I was finding a lot of real small animals, like raccoon, possum sized, really far off. So you could kind of just see like a little hot blob moving around. But this first guy here was super small. I have no clue what it was, other than, I'm guessing like a rat or something, because it was definitely smaller than a raccoon or a possum. So that's my best guess, is that it's a rat. So other than just being a little heat blob on the screen there, it's kind of hard to see that guy. But it does pick them up, and the distance on that's like 400 or 500 yards out there, and you can still see it glowing. It's just hard to make out what it is because it's so small. That said, you can still see here, you could definitely still make a shot on that. But anyways, I got bored with that, so I wanted to show you guys up here that 650, 700 yard corner all the way zoomed in with that 50 millimeter lens. And then I'm going to pan to the right here, and there's a road that runs up just as far, because the road runs up and then it curves off to the left there and goes behind all those trees. So again, this is about 650, 700 yards roughly. You can see the road's glowing because it's warm. Again, it was 40 degrees Fahrenheit out, but obviously the road's going to hold some heat. The bark on that tree is holding some heat compared to the cold, wet, muddy ground. But as you can see there, that thing zooms in pretty good, clear out there almost 700 yards. And I will also tell you, having driven by that exact tree numerous times, that tree is about as wide as I am, so pretty good zoom there. I also missed this until editing. As I was panning through all this looking for stuff, and again, I was finding random hot spots, but they weren't moving, so I assumed they were tree stumps and rocks and whatever. I happened upon this cluster here, and I was like, ooh, what's all that? And I stared at it for quite a while, and I didn't see any movement, but apparently, you see that? Look at the one clear on the right. You see it moving, and it looks like an arm. I think that's actually a person out there in the woods. And I can tell you that's probably getting close to 1,000 yards. So there's a property on the other side of those woods there where there's like a clearing with a house and all that, which you cannot even see here. But I'm guessing, there's probably a good 700-800 yards into those trees there. And you can clearly see that guy in there and see him moving around. And again, if I didn't state it at the beginning of this video, this was mounted to a tripod. It was not on a firearm. So now we're at a new location here, and pretty plain to see that we got a cat down there. I kicked on the onboard rangefinder. It said about 130 some yards. So there is a feline out there, a household cat, about 130 yards. And I seen him when I drove by in the car, and so I tried to rush getting out and all that and set up the tripod really quick, trying to get a focus here. But he slips into the ditch there, but then he pops up on the other side of the road later, so we'll show that in just a second. But I found some other stuff off to the right here, way further out. So these guys are way out here, 700 or 800 yards, and you'll see me play with the focus some off and on, trying to get a better focus on them. They're just smaller animals, obviously. So I think if there was like a deer or something out here, you could probably see it no problem. Like, oh yeah, that's a deer, you know what I mean? But being 800 yards away, and with how small these animals were, I think that's just the best we get. You can kind of see like their legs of them walking around. I think sometimes I can see a tail sticking up. My best guess is that these are some plump little raccoons out there in the field scrounging around. That's what it looks like to me based off of the way that they walk, and they're so plump and round, and you can, like I said, sometimes it looks like I can see a tail. So I mean, that's what I think it is out here. So this is what you see, a raccoon 800 yards out. So, you know, again, it's not like, for this thing being on about the lowest end of the spectrum, this is actually pretty dang good performance out of this thing. So as you can see, you can still make those shots, you know, provided that you have a good enough rifle and cartridge and all that. You can still make these shots out here, you know. But yeah, that's what I think they are, raccoons. So that's about what a raccoon, I believe to be a raccoon, looks like at 800 yards. All right, and then here's that cat again real quick. So now he's on the other side of the road. Black is hot. And again, about 130, 140 yards there. And I did not really bother with the focus here because I just wanted to show him again real quick. But there he is out there at 140 yards. And I'm not all the way zoomed in either. All right, and then here's some horses between 400 and 500 yards out. I noticed the video is getting a little long, so I'm going to kind of just clip and edit through this. I was kind of showing focus and all kinds of different things, but I'll just show you the best clips here from the horses, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And clearly the guy on the left here is laying down, and the one on the right is standing. And I'm just going through the different color modes here so you can get a good look at that. And that is full magnification there at 500 yards, so plenty of zoom on this, again with the 50mm lens. So again, you can see it kind of off to the left there. We got this little bright dot out there. This guy was way out there again. I think it was a rabbit, but we're not going to waste time on that since we already got a decent collection of small animals way out there. But you can see him way out there. That was, again, probably 800 plus yards out there, but we'll show some cars here. This truck here starts out several hundred yards away as it's closing in. And then when it's at the closest before it starts driving away again, it's probably like somewhere between 100 150 yards, but all the way down there when we first saw it was probably 300-400 yards out. It's like a cement truck maybe, or I don't know. No, that ain't cement. I don't know what the heck that is. Milk truck something? You guys tell me. Nice things you see glowing next to the barn there. When I pan back over to it, these are actually like large bales of hay. It's a cow barn over there. You didn't see them very long. I'll show you again. They hold heat and they show up real good several hundred yards out. You can see that tower there I just panned past. That tower is like a half mile away, if not further, and you could just see it up in the sky there, no problem. Let me give you a better look at that in those hay bales. I was hoping there's some cows out there laying down, because I know this is a cow farm here, but they were locked up in that barn there. So those were in fact hay bales right there. And if you've been on a farm ever and stuck your hand in a hay bale, those things hold heat like crazy. So I do believe that's what that is. It's hay. That looks like a feeder there that they're all bunched up around. So unless I'm wrong, it looks like hay bales that they had gotten into. So those are radiating heat. And there's that tower again. So like I said, I gotta get it zoomed up to it. Just let me go ahead and skip here. Well, I thought I zoomed in on that thing, but I guess I didn't. But anyways, that's over a half mile away, and you can just see it sticking up in the air there. So as I said earlier in this video, this thermal, even without a heat signature, because those metal poles going up to that thing are cold, it lets you see much further than you can with a regular night vision scope, because the regular night vision only allows you to go out as far as your infrared torch reaches, and that's it. This thing, it'll let you see for freaking over a mile, no problem. And if you got a heat signature, it picks up the heat signature over a mile away as well. Here's a pickup truck driving by, now in the opposite direction. And here is that transformer, I believe they're called, up on that electric pole there that the truck just drove under, 200-300 yards away. And I'm not worrying about getting the focus or anything here, just showing you that it's up there glowing because it's warm. So now I'm just going to show you the path I'm going to take here real quick. So I walk down the road with the dog. I'm going to start there. I'm going to walk all the way down the road here. And then, excuse me, once we get down to this corner down here, then the road curves off to the left. And then I'm going to walk out to the left. I already rangefindered it. It's about 175 yards to this electric pole right here. And then once I get down there, we're going to zoom in just a tad, just 2 clicks out of 8. And change through the different color modes again so you can see me. So anyways, it's kind of hard to see those little tiny animals way far out, and they're just heat blobs. So I kind of wanted to show you what you can really expect with this thing at more ideal distances, and on larger animals like deer hunting or a coyote or a hog or whatever. So that's what this footage right here is going to show you. Again, this is about 175 yards. And we only zoomed in twice there, so we still have 6 more clicks to zoom in way further, and that is with the 50mm lens. So that's me down there needing to lose about 50 pounds. And then to wrap this up, there's some deer back here behind the house. So the closest one, I think, was like 120 yards. And then, can't remember if I show any clear at the back or not, but if I do back there, clear the back, it's like a little over 200 yards. And this footage is a little shaky. This completely caught me off guard. I was holding it by hand at first. My tripod was not tall enough to see over this fence here. I do go up to the fence to steady it on one of those wooden posts a little bit, which helps a lot, but it's still not as steady as just a moment ago with the tripod. Also, you may see me focus in and out because I had it like focused when they were close at about 120, 130, and then I had to adjust the focus a little once they were further out. I noticed some collar platelets look better than others, and you'll switch, and then it'll need a slight refocus, so you might see some of that depending on what I show here. And I thought I should show this one right here. This is all the way back like 200 plus yards, a little over 200. And you see this deer disappear, and then I changed the collar, and now you can see it again. So depending on your background and environment, that's why you really want to have that option to be able to change your collar platelets, because it can mean the difference between being able to see it and not, depending. So if you made it clear to the end here, you're freaking awesome, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, again, for way more details on this, this was just displaying what it's capable of, pertaining to the thermal imaging. Check out that original review video. I will put a link to that video in the video description here. And if you want to actually go check this thing out, maybe you're thinking about grabbing yourself one, there'll be links in the description for that as well. But again, I walk away with this pretty much the way I did in the end of the review video. I think this thing is freaking awesome for the price. Now, a lot of people, a lot of my regulars, had kind of sticker shock. I guess they'd had no clue what a thermal scope actually runs. But this is definitely, this is a budget option here, but I think it's one of the best budget options out there, because for not much more than the absolute most dirt cheap one you can get, it is so much better. There's so many more awesome features to it. Again, check out the original review video. It's just way too much to go over here, because there's so many options and features with this thing, even that you get with it standard. As I was saying earlier in this video, you can get it with a 35 mil lens or a 50 mil lens. It gives you more magnification power there with the 50. You can buy it with one or the other or both if you want to be able to swap them out. But anything in this price range, and especially the ones under, the lack of better terms, the thermal imager is just not as good. It's not as good as quality. It's not as good picture, which, by the way, OneLeaf emailed me after I'd already recorded all this footage, so it was too late by then. But apparently there's an update. You can do a firmware update on this, and it's supposed to give you an even better picture quality there, so keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm pretty confident in saying nothing for less than what you'll pay for this one is going to beat it. There's just no chance, because this thing performs so well already at the price it's at. I mean, it performs like a $3,000 or $4,000 unit, and it's a fraction of that. So if you want a really good thermal scope for about as cheap as you can get it, I don't think you can beat this one here. You got to be careful with the ones cheaper and even ones with similar prices, because the quality just isn't there, and the image and the thermal performance is just not as good. But yeah, check out that original review video and overview and all that, and cite in if you missed it, linked in the description. There should be a little discount code for you guys in the video description as well. Help save you a little bit of money on this guy at least. Thanks for checking this one out today. I really appreciate it, and I hope to catch you guys on the next one.